So I am doing a valve check on a 2012 Cummins, the 6.7, and this is going to be a video about that. The truck has just under 200,000 miles on it, so roughly about 100,000 is when I usually check them. I'm going to guess that this truck has never had the valves adjusted, based solely on all of the other work that I've had to do to this truck, because it's been a lot. Whenever you are doing a valve adjustment on a motor, you want to make sure to know which way to turn the motor, of course the firing order, and of course also the specs for in each motor. There's an allowance amount and different numbers for the intake versus the exhaust. So we're going to do that and see how it is. All right, first thing was unhook the battery. And next we're going to take off these. All right, so I got the filter off. And I'm going to clean everything because there's a lot of dust because I don't want it to drop in. So we got the filter off. And we have to get the valve cover off now, which are going to be 6 bolts. 2 here, 2 back there, and 2 back there. I don't know if you can see it. Yeah, 2 back there. We got to take this off. And this hose off. Okay. So now, what is holding you back? Okay, so the valve cover is off, and I was having struggles because I didn't realize the gasket was coming with the upper, and it needs to stay with the lower because it's the wires for the injectors. So what we have here is you got your injectors, you got your rockers. This is the intake and this is the exhaust. Number 2, intake, exhaust. Number 3, so on. And these. So what we have to do first is get it to top dead center. When we get it to top dead center, either number 1 is actually going to be top dead center or number 6. Doesn't matter which one you do, but I'm going to start with 1. And when you do cylinder 1 at top dead center, you can check the intake for 1, 2, and 4. And then for the exhaust will be 1, 3, 5. And then you'll rotate it around and to top dead center again, and then 6 will be, and then we go. So for what you end up doing is you have feeler gauges, and the specs for the intake is 10 thousandths. The spec for the exhaust is 26 thousandths. So when you're doing a motor, you always want to know which way or which side is the intake versus the exhaust. So here we have 2 rockers. How do you know which one is the exhaust and which one is the intake? Well, this is a straight 6, and if you're not sure, find the exhaust, which is this sucker. Let's see, jar stuff too. And then you look at, if you can see down here, these valves are closest to the exhaust. So that's connected to this rocker, which means that the longer ones are the exhaust and the shorter ones are the intake. Here we have the injectors. They're electronic. I've seen a lot of people take these off, and this is part of the gasket. You can do that. I haven't. But what you do want to make sure, there are zip ties throughout, and you want to make sure that they don't break off and get schnoofed down there. So when checking the valves on the intake is 10 thousandths. So you want to go between the rocker and here. And you want some drag. You don't want it to slip right through, but you also don't want to struggle to push the feeler gauge through. So that one's good. And that's how you check it. It helps if they are at an angle, because as you see, injectors get in the way and the casing gets in the way here and there. They make them bent. I just bent this myself. But yeah. And to adjust it, all you do is loosen up this tightening nut, and then you put an Allen in there and you tighten. So first, what we're gonna do is put it to top dead center. Okay, so you can't see it, but right here says TDC, that's top dead center. So we want to rotate the motor clockwise until that mark is at the top. Unfortunately, I don't have a paint marker, which would be extremely helpful. But all it is I have my 15 millimeter on a 3/8 ratchet, and I'm just turning it. And you just turn it by hand. Can't see it, but top dead center is at the top. So to check to see which one it is, if it's top dead center at number 6 or not, I have play in number 1, and I should not have play in number 6, which is extremely difficult to get to. Correct, I do not. So I just happenstanced upon the one that I wanted. So I will check what I got. So intake 10. So I don't have too bad of play there, but I do want to check and make sure that it does not go up to, fuck am I at? So we got done with the valve adjustment, and let me tell you, number 6 was a bear to get to. My arms are still sore. Every single one was out, intake and exhaust. I set everything to 10 thousandths on the intake and 26 thousandths on the exhaust. So I've done it once, and now what I want to make sure to do is to rotate the motor a couple times by hand and check everything again to make sure that nothing has tightened and nothing is loosened. So that's what we're going to do next. So first startup, I really didn't think it sounded bad before, but wow, it sounds a world of difference now. So, yeah, there she is.